Welcome back into another episode of Hefe's Cabin. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. But we're going to go ahead and get right into today's episode. We got the Thursday night review, as well as a bunch of Sunday football for you guys as well. And at the end of this broadcast, we'll, of course, review for our WWE fans this Friday night SmackDown as well. So let's go ahead and get right into this broadcast. At the top, of course, Thursday night, we had Seattle and the Cardinals. The Cardinals tried to make a late push in the fourth quarter, but a field goal at the end of the game would ultimately seal their fate, 23 to 20, as Seattle would take this one on the road, and they would improve to 3-1 with the Bucs next on their radar, and the Cardinals they will look to rebound next week against the Titans. So we'll see what happens next week with those two teams. And Seattle is looking good without Geno. Let's go ahead and get over into the Sunday football. We got a very early game over in Dublin this week to start things off. People over in the West Coast feel real bad for you guys. The game starts around 6:30 in the morning, so you guys are definitely going to be getting up early. Hopefully, you guys already got your breakfast regimen planned out for these games. I know I do, so I will be following suit with that. But let's go ahead and get right into this broadcast. 9:30 a.m. on my side, we have the 2-1 Vikings versus the 2-1 Steelers in Dublin. As I said, the Steelers are listed as the home team in this one, and the Vikings will be the road team. The Minnesota Vikings travel to Dublin to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Vikings will still be without quarterback J.J. McCarthy. Last week they were without him as well. However, the Vikings shined at home against the Bengals in a 48 to 10 victory, and they will look to continue that momentum with Carson Wentz at the helm. Or will Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers have other plans in Dublin? Carson Wentz has a 1-1 record versus the Pittsburgh's Steelers, while Aaron Rodgers is all too familiar with the Vikings, as he used to be the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, having to play them twice a year. He has a 17-12-1 record against that franchise. However, this will be the first meeting between these two quarterbacks in the NFL. My best bet for this matchup in Dublin will be wide receiver Jalen Naylor over his 16 and a half receiving yards. He has hit this in every game thus far throughout the season, and I believe 16 and a half is a pretty low number. I can see that coming in pretty easily. So that is my best bet for this matchup. As far as a winner in this game, I believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers can get things done here and come out victorious against Carson Wentz, even though they beat up on the Joe Burrowless Bengals last week. If Joe Burrow was there, I feel like that game would have been a lot different. So I'm going to go with the Steelers in this one. And then we finally get over into the 1 o'clock hour. In the first game we're going to get into, we have the 0-3 Saints at the 3-0 Bills. Spencer Rattler and the Saints travel to Buffalo, seeking a much-needed win against a red-hot Josh Allen-led Buffalo Bills team. Spencer Rattler is 0-9 in his NFL journey thus far, and he's still seeking that first taste of victory. But I'm not sure he'll get too close this week, as the Bills are on fire, winning their first three games of the season by and putting up at least 30 plus points in those games. Josh Allen has only played the Saints once in his career back in 2021, where he led the Bills to a 31 to 6 victory, winning that game by more than three touchdowns. Uh, can they repeat that, as they are favored by more than 15, or as they are favored by 15 and a half points this time around? My best bet in this matchup is the Bills covering that spread. I can't see a world where they don't cover that. I know it's a huge spread and it's a lot of points. And it's almost disrespectful to the Saints. But at the end of the day, when you look at who's leading each franchise, I just don't see a world where the Saints put up too many points in this ball game. So I'm going to go with that as my best bet for this week, as well as the Bills team total, 31 and a half. But my favorite is definitely the Bills covering that 15 and a half spread for sure in the 1 o'clock hour. Over into the next game, we have the 0-3 Titans versus the 0-3 Texans. The 0-3 Titans and the 0-3 Texans battle it out in the divisional duel of the winless. Someone has to win, right? Or could we see a tie? Cam Ward is in his rookie season, still searching for that first taste of NFL victory, while CJ Stroud and the Texans most likely could be already out of the playoffs at 0-3. as they were just last season competing in the divisional round of the playoffs. What is going wrong with CJ Stroud and the Texans? Can they get back on track this week against the Titans? CJ is 2-1 versus the Titans in his NFL career thus far. My best bet in this matchup is the wide receiver Calvin Ridley over his 46.5 receiving yards. As far as a winner in this matchup, with the Texans being at home, I do believe they should be able to come out victorious in this matchup. Cam Ward is still a rookie at the end of the day. I'm not sure that he will be able to outduel CJ Stroud in this matchup. But there's also a world where in this season, how the Texans are looking, that Cam Ward could get his first taste of victory in Texas. But I see CJ getting it done and getting his first NFL win of the season this week. In the next game, we have the 1-2 Browns at the 2-1 Lions. The Browns picked up a huge comeback win last week versus the Packers and look to continue that momentum as they head to Detroit, who's looking for their third straight victory after a horrible week 1 loss. Detroit has won 4 of the last 5 meetings between these two franchises. However, Joe Flacco owns a perfect 3-0 record versus the Lions. Jared Goff is 1-0 versus the Browns. While this will be the first meeting against each other, someone's perfect streak has got to come to an end. The Browns' run defense versus David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs will definitely be a real matchup to watch this Sunday. My best bet in this matchup is the points, 44.5 under that total. I believe this is going to be a dogfight and it's going to be hard to get into that end zone. We could see a lot of field goals. We could see a lot of punts. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of points. Man, as far as a winner in this matchup, it's definitely tough. Joe Flacco, perfect 3-0 record versus the Lions is something hard to overlook, especially with that comeback victory last week. But the Browns really haven't done much all season besides what we saw last week. The Lions, man, for the last couple weeks, they've definitely been putting on, and I believe they could come out of this victorious, especially being at home. So I look for them to continue their winning ways in this matchup, and I look for that total to stay under 44.5 points. In the next matchup, we have the 2-1 Commanders at the 1-2 Falcons. Dan Quinn returns to Atlanta with his Washington Commanders. However, he will be without his starting quarterback and starting wide receiver Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. However, Marcus Mariota stepped up last week versus the Raiders, winning that matchup 41-24. That defense stepped up huge as well. And can they do it again? While the Falcons will look to rebound after not putting up a single point last week versus the Carolina Panthers. Marcus Mariota in his career owns a 5-8 record versus Atlanta. My best bet in this matchup, and this will spoil the winner in this as well, is the Commanders money line. It's plus money. Um, Even without Terry McLaurin, I believe that Marcus Mariota will find a way to win this matchup. The Falcons looked absolutely terrible last week. As I said, they didn't put up a single point against the Carolina Panthers, who looked absolutely terrible in the beginning couple weeks of the season. Bryce Young looked like one hell of a quarterback last week, and the rest of that team looked like one hell of a team last week. Um, I'm not sure if the Falcons can figure it out in 1 week, and I'm not sure if the Falcons have enough to compete against the Commanders' defense either. The Commanders' defense played absolutely well last week. I look for that to continue, and Marcus Mariota this is his second season, I believe, with the Commanders. He stepped in last year, and he stepped up, and he stepped in this year, and he's stepping up great as well. So I look for that to continue in this matchup. So my best bet and the winner of this matchup is the Commanders' money line. In the next 1 o'clock game, we have the 3-0 Eagles versus the 3-0 Bucs. The Eagles travel to Tampa in similar fashion to last season, Week 4 as well. However, this time they are 3-0, and looking for a different result as well, as they lost that matchup 33-16. On the other side of the bracket, Baker Mayfield Baker Mayfield's luck may be coming to an end as the defending champs are on their way, but that didn't stop him last season, throwing for over 300 yards in that win. However, Mike Evans, who accounted for 8 catches, 94 of those yards last season, will be missing this matchup with a hamstring injury. Can Baker keep that magic rolling without Evans, or Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and the Philadelphia Eagles have the last laugh in Tampa? And what could be a playoff preview matchup as well? These two teams are definitely off to some of the hottest starts in the season. My best bet in this matchup is Chris Godwin over that 31.5 receiving yards. He's heavily surpassed this the first 3 weeks of the season, and without Mike Evans in the lineup, he's definitely going to be a go-to target, and he's going to be looked at. Baker's going to be having to throw the ball a lot. The Eagles are definitely going to be putting up points early and often. Baker's most likely going to be playing from behind. Um, I know they played him well last season, but without Mike Evans, that's a huge hole to keep up with. Their rookie receiver definitely will definitely try and fill the void for Mike Evans, but it's hard to fill a Mike Evans void, but I definitely like Chris Godwin to go over that 31 and a half. I believe that's a little bit too low. I think at this point in the season, he's put up at least 60 yards a game. So to put him only at 31 and a half for this is kind of low in my opinion. I feel like they're lowballing him. I feel like this total should be at least 15 to maybe 23 yards higher. But it is what it is. I'm going to go over that total, like I said. And that is that. As far as a winner in this matchup, I think the Eagles will reclaim victory in this matchup and move on to 4-0. I think Tampa's luck is finally going to come to an end. Um, Especially with Mike Evans. If Mike Evans was in this ball game, I kind of would more lean towards Tampa to win this matchup. But with Mike Evans out of the ball game, I just don't know if Baker's going to have enough on offense to get the job done against that Philadelphia defense. That Philadelphia defense is still very good as well. So I'm going to go with the Jalen Hurts and Saquon led Philadelphia Eagles to win that matchup in Tampa. Um, in the next 1 o'clock game, we have the 1-2 Panthers at the 1-2 Patriots. After picking up their first win of the season in dominant fashion last week, the Panthers make their way to New England, looking to keep things rolling, while Drake May and the Patriots are looking to get back on track after losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. In their first meeting between Bryce Young and Drake May, who will come out with the victory here? My best bet in this matchup is uh, Trevon Henderson over 16 and a half receiving yards. He's hit this number in three straight, and I expect that to continue in this matchup. As far as a winner in this matchup, the Patriots, I felt like at this point in the season, the record would be flipped, kind of 2-1 type deal. They're definitely going to try hard to get to 500 here, as well as the Panthers. They put up 30 points last week, and they looked dominant against Atlanta. Can they go into New England and do the same thing? I don't know if they can reciprocate that same dominant fashion in New England against the Patriots. But I do think they could possibly come away with the victory here in New England. I think the Patriots they haven't been playing to their full potential. They are getting, however, though, a piece back on defense this week at corner, which is going to be a major help. The Panthers are definitely actually lacking a lot of wide receiver help. So the Patriots definitely could come away with the victory in this matchup as well. Now that I'm actually thinking about it, so I'm gonna go with the home team for this matchup. I'm gonna say the Patriots come away victorious. That big boost in defense will help them for sure. And Drake May definitely needs a rebound game. I know the I'm sorry. I know the Panthers last week looked unstoppable against the Falcons, but they are now on the road and they are in New England, which is a whole different atmosphere. So I look for Drake May to win that matchup. Um, in the next matchup, I have the 3-0 Chargers versus the 0-3 Giants. 3-0 for the first time since 2002. The Red Hot Chargers make their way to New York to take on the 0-3 Giants, who have benched their starting quarterback Russell Wilson for their first round rookie quarterback Jackson Dart, who couldn't have picked a worse week to start on the schedule against the 3-0 Red Hot Chargers. Second year wide receiver Malik Neighbors will be catching passes from his sixth NFL quarterback. So good luck to him. But however, though, I'm not sure if that really even matters much to Neighbors as he continues to put up numbers no matter who's behind the helm when you look at it. But will it be enough to get the job done against the Chargers? Justin Herbert's the only NFL quarterback with multiple 300-yard games this season, and can he do it again? I'm not sure if he'll get 300 yards again this week, as I'm not sure if he'll need to pass the ball that much against a team this bad. But my best bet in this matchup, I feel like the spread is a little bit low. When you go back and you look at the Buffalo spread minus 15 and a half against a terrible 0-3 Saints team, and then you look at the Chargers, who are just as dominant as the Bills this season, they're going against an 0-3 team as well, but they're only -6.5. So that's kind of interesting to me. I look for the Chargers to win this game by double digits for sure. I look for them to put one hell of a bidding on Jackson Dart and the Giants. I think this is an unfortunate start for Jackson Dart. He's gonna taste a terrible defeat. He could get sacked at least 4 or 5 times in this game. Um, Malik Neighbors should definitely get maybe 60 to 80 yards in this game. But as far as anything else goes, the Giants, I just don't see them putting up anywhere near as enough points as they will need to beat the Chargers. So I'm going to go with the Chargers to win that matchup for sure, and that gets us out of the 1 o'clock hour and right over into the 4 o'clock hour. We have the 2-1 Jags versus the 3-0 undefeated 49ers. The Jags travel to San Fran, hoping to keep their momentum going after beating the Texans last week. However, Trevor Lawrence owns a 0-2 record versus the 49ers. While the 49ers have their quarterback Brock Purdy back under center this week, who owns a 1-0 record against Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, beating him 34-3. Can Trevor Lawrence get his revenge in San Fran, or will Brock Purdy keep the 49ers perfect on the season? My best bet in this matchup is Travis Etienne over 53.5 rushing yards from the Jags. Um, as far as a winner in this matchup, unfortunately, the 49ers are going to win this game. I would love for the Jags to go in San Fran and win this matchup, but I just can't see them doing it. I can't see them getting the job done here, unfortunately, especially with Brock Purdy back under helm. I know they'll still be without tight end George Kittle, but um, I feel like Brock Purdy is just an extra boost. Mac Jones, he got the job done last week, and now with Brock Purdy back, it just elevates their offense, unfortunately. So I look for them to stay undefeated on the season and go 4-0 from this matchup. In the next 4 o'clock game, we have the 3-0 Colts versus the 2-1 Rams. Daniel Jones is off to the best start of a season in his NFL career thus far with a perfect 3-0 record, and he'll look to continue that dominance in LA versus the Rams. However, Jones is 0-2 thus far in his career against them, but now he's on a new team and he's with a new star running back in Jonathan Taylor. Can he change his history? While the Rams return home after a two-game road stand, going 1-1 in that time, losing their first game of the season last week to the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. Matthew Stafford is 3-2 in his career versus the Indianapolis Colts, but is 2-0 versus Daniel Jones. Can he continue that dominance against Daniel Jones, or will Daniel Jones and his new team finally help him defeat Matthew Stafford and the Rams? My best bet in this matchup is Daniel Jones over 216 passing yards. I feel like they're still playing with his numbers. I feel like he'll definitely surpass this by at least 20 plus passing yards. But yeah, I feel like they're still playing with my guy in Indianapolis as far as his passing yards. He's been doing a great job over there in Indy. Um, can he continue to get the job done and beat Matthew Stafford for the first time in his career? That's going to be definitely something to watch. And I definitely believe he can do it. I believe he can go in there and get the job done. And I'm going to go with Daniel Jones and the Jonathan Taylor led Colts to get the job done in LA against the Rams. Um, in the next 4 o'clock game, we have the 1-2 Bears versus the 1-2 Raiders. After an 0-2 start, Caleb Williams and the Bears came alive last week in Dallas in a 34-14 victory, and they look to continue that dominant momentum as they travel to Las Vegas to take on the Geno Smith-led Raiders, who owns a 1-1 record versus the Bears. With that win coming last season when he was on Seattle, beating Caleb Williams in a 6-3 field goal duel. Can he do it again on his new team, who started the season with a solid win versus the Patriots, but have dropped two straight games since then? Can they get back on track with this win this week when the Bears come to town? My best bet in this matchup is Caleb Williams over that 25.5 rushing yards. As far as a winner in this matchup, the Raiders, when they started the season, I knew they were going to win that game against the Patriots. In my opinion, that game was 100% for Tom Brady. I mean, as he is a minority owner. But past that, I didn't believe in anything the Raiders could do. But the Bears aren't that great of a team. I know they got a huge win last week against Dallas, but as everybody's seen all season long thus far, Dallas has had a terrible defense. You saw them in a duel with an 0-3 New York Giants football team. So with that said, what did you really expect against a great defense in the Chicago Bears? The Chicago Bears continuously, time after time, have a great defense. CeeDee Lamb also got hurt in that game, so that didn't help Dallas at all either. But Dallas is lacking a lot of a lot of cornerback depth and a lot of defense help. They need help. So with that being said, can the Chicago Bears go in Las Vegas continue their dominance? I don't know about continue their dominance, but I do believe they can find a way to win this football game and come away victorious in Las Vegas. I just don't believe the Raiders have enough going for themselves right now, and I think they'll fall with their third straight loss of the season. In the last 4 o'clock game, we have the 1-2 Ravens at the 1-2 Chiefs. And by raise of hands, I'm just curious, did anybody at this point believe that the Ravens or Chiefs will be below 500? I know we are only 3 games into the season, but I don't think anybody saw this coming. This is new territory for both teams. The Ravens and the Chiefs. It's absolutely incredible that they've struggled this far this season. Derrick Henry has fumbled in 3 straight games. That's very much unlike him. All season long last year, he fumbled just 3 times. While Mahomes is lacking a lot of wide receiver help. And which of these two teams will be able to get the job done? Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. They own a 4-1 regular season record against Lamar and the Ravens, and they also own a 1-0 playoff record. My best bet in this matchup is Lamar Jackson running over that 46.5 rushing yards. The last couple of times he's played them, he's got 100 plus rushing yards against them. I I see that maybe not happening again, but at least getting to that 50 mark for sure. As far as a winner in this matchup, both of these teams look very terrible thus far into the season. The Ravens kicked off the season looking very dominant into that fourth quarter, and then things have just gone from bad to worse since then. They picked up a dominant win that next week, and then again, once again we just saw them flop that next week. So it's like, who are the Ravens? What are they doing? They've given up one more point thus far in the season than the Dallas Cowboys. So if you thought the Dallas Cowboys are a bad defense, what can we think about the Baltimore Ravens, who have given up 96 total points to Dallas Cowboys 95? I know that's an incredible stat. You guys probably don't believe that, so go look it up yourself. Go do the math, but it's true. The Ravens have given up a lot of points. The Chiefs, on the other hand, they haven't done much for themselves either. They're 1-2, just like the Ravens. Patrick Mahomes isn't looking like himself without the wide receiver help. People aren't being able to catch the ball, and that defense isn't being able to get the job done either. Who wins this matchup with a 4-1 record against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens? It's hard to look past Patrick Mahomes' record. But in my opinion, the Ravens have the better team right now. If Derrick Henry would just hold on to the ball. Part of me wants to go with the Baltimore Ravens. Part of me wants to go with Patrick Mahomes in that 4-1 record. But I'm gonna go with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to get things done and get on track, um, and even their season up here. But we'll see what happens in this matchup. Anything can happen in the NFL, as we know. So that's the last 4 o'clock game. So you guys know what time it is. It's time to get into some Sunday night football. And unfortunately, the Sunday night football game's not as big as most people would have wanted it to be, as Micah Parsons got traded from the Dallas Cowboys early in the season. So Micah Parsons gets to return to Dallas for the first time since that trade, on his new team, the Green Bay Packers, and he's looking to take down Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. The Packers suffered their first loss of the season last week to the Browns, while Dak Prescott and the Cowboys not only got dismantled by Chicago last week, but they lost wide receiver CeeDee Lamb until further notice. The Packers look to rebound in Dallas after last week's loss, while Dak and the Cowboys look to prove they are a playoff team. Jordan Love is 1-0 versus Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, but that was a playoff game. This will be their first regular season meeting. Dak Prescott is 1-3 versus the Packers in his entire NFL career. My best bets in this matchup is, of course, Tucker Kraft going over his 42.5 receiving yards. I know after that 100 plus yard game, he didn't do too much, but against this Dallas secondary and against this Dallas defense, it's hard to overlook that. Josh Jacobs over his 70.5 rushing yards. It's hard to overlook that as well. I believe he could have a career day against Dallas's defense. Head coach from the Cowboys said that we will be seeing a different side of Dallas's defense this week, but I'm not sure how much I can believe that, especially with the Packers coming to town. Micah Parsons, there's a lot of FanDuel bets for how many sacks Micah Parsons will get on Dak Prescott. I believe he could get at least 1 or 2 sacks for sure on Dak this week. It's going to be very interesting to see Michael Parsons against the Cowboys. And I know that's going to be a lot of people's key to watching this matchup, which is going to upset obviously a lot of other players like Jordan Love, like Dak Prescott. And it's unfortunate that the shine will be on Micah Parsons and the and what he does in this matchup. But in my opinion, there's just no way the Packers don't go in Dallas and win this matchup and rebound from last week. I can't see a world where the Cowboys win this matchup. I believe they will fall to 1-3 and pretty much insert themselves out of the playoff picture at this point in the season. And as I said, those best bets, I look for both of those to come in as well. And the winner of the matchup being the Green Bay Packers. That is it for the NFL football segment. I will be getting into the two Monday night football games in the next episode that I have for you guys. So for all you guys that came and stopped by for the NFL broadcast, I appreciate all you guys for stopping by. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. I'll hit you guys with some more content later on. And for all my WWE fans that are here and that are just coming in, I welcome you all in and thanks for stopping by. Again, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button, and we're going to go ahead and get right into Friday Night SmackDown that kicked off with Paul Heyman and Cody Rhodes. They went back and forth with promos. This led to Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed getting in that ring, and Cody Rhodes would have a way with words with both of them. This led to Cody Rhodes attacking and trying to take them out by himself, of course, being the guy that he is. However, the numbers do gain up on you. But he had a guy in the back that came out to save the day, and Randy Orton. After that segment, we got our first match of the night, which was the Street Profits versus Melo Dome Miz and the Miz and Carmelo Hayes for the number one contenders match for the tag team titles. The winner of this matchup was the Street Profits. Right before this, it looked like Carmelo Hayes was gearing up to win this matchup for the Miz and him. However, the Miz tagged himself in, and this would lead to Carmelo, of course, getting upset as he's continuously done this to him. There was a chance that Hayes could have stopped this pin, but he just sat there and watched it happen. So we know where that's going, and we know what's going to happen with that. After the matchup, the Wyatt Six did show up at the commentary table. However, Bo Dallas was noticeably not out there. After this, we had Julia and Kiana James versus B-Fab and Michin. The winners of this matchup is Julia versus Kiana James. There's a lot of rumors that Michin will no longer be on the roster soon. I'm not sure what that means for B-Fab. She's been doing things with the Street Profits as well, but it doesn't seem like WWE has a lot for her. And I'm curious to see when Julia is going to finally get into a good feud for that United States Championship. They finally got a new champion for the women's division, and I would just love for more to happen with it. Drew McIntyre, he cut a promo. Nick Aldis would end up coming out and interrupt that, and they would go back and forth. Nick Aldis would end up leaving, and Drew would try and continue talking. However, Jacob Fatu would finally return to the WWE, which I've been waiting for this for a while now. They, of course, had a way with words, grabbing the mic out of each other's hands back and forth. This led to Drew McIntyre finally trying to headbutt Jacob Fatu. Of course, as we all know, Jacob Fatu is all gas and no brakes. So this led to Jacob Fatu getting back on his feet and attacking Drew McIntyre and laying him out in the ring. We got a U.S. Open Challenge match, and for the first time, we did not know who the challenger was going to be before the match. Thank you, WWE, as I've been wanting this moment, and this is actually great because we did get an NXT star, which was wonderful to see in Javon Evans. A great back and forth matchup between him and Sami Zayn. Of course, we kind of knew that Sami Zayn was going to win this matchup, but it's just great to see that not only did we not get to know who the challenger was, but they also gave shine to an NXT star who definitely put up a fight in this matchup for sure, and definitely got to get some TV time and shine for the world to know his name. But like I said, the winner and still United States champion is Sami Zayn. In the last and final matchup of the night in the main event, we got Jade Cargill versus Nia Jax versus Tiffany Stratton for that women's world title. In this matchup, this was a great back and forth matchup between all three of these women. I definitely thought this was a match where they were going to have um, Jade Cargill pin Nia Jax and finally reclaim or finally claim the title for the first time. But it doesn't feel like WWE is ready for Jade Cargill to do anything right now with a title. Maybe they put her back in a tag team and she goes after the team titles at some point. Who knows? Maybe she just needs to go back into the developmental scene. Maybe she should go over to NXT and maybe work there for a little bit, and try and play a little catch up. Maybe they tried to insert her into the main roster a little bit too soon. Who knows? But there's also rumors that Tiffany Stratton, this was a bad pin, and there was supposed to be a kick out. Who knows? Who knows what the real stories are? Who knows what the real truths are? But at the end of the day, Tiffany Stratton is still our champion, and she will be fighting Stephanie Valkyr in Saudi Arabia. As will Seth Rollins will be facing Cody Rhodes over in Saudi, and we also know AJ Styles and John Cena for the one final match. So can't wait for all of those matchups, and can't wait for Monday Night Raw coming up soon. I will hit you guys with the preview of that. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and tap in. I'll see you guys real soon. I appreciate everybody for stopping by, and I'll see y'all next time in the cabin.